Also, 15 subscribers away from 4,000 subs. Let's see if we can make it today. That's the goal anyways. So if we can make it today, that would be awesome. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let's chat about Freemasonry. And we are going to be talking about the economy today. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. You cannot separate the condition of Freemasonry from the conditions of the communities in which it's located. That includes economic conditions. Nice to see you as well. Have you noticed a drop in your purchasing power or increased pricing? See, so the whole question is, have you noticed a drop in purchasing power or increased price of goods versus your wage since February 2026? Basically, are you finding it more expensive to live um, since February 2026, since the start of the Iran war? Um, so it's going to affect Freemasonry. I'm going to talk about how and why in a second, but we know that according to CNN, inflation is outpacing wages for the first time, I think, in 3 years. And that actually means a lot. There's reports that people are starting to work longer hours, or that people are starting to work more hours. Again, every hour you're working is 1 hour you cannot spend in a Masonic Lodge meeting. So, or attending a Masonic Lodge event, whatever it might be. Good to see you as well, though, Cheeseburger. Hope you're doing well. We're going to give it some time. We're going to wait to see who joins. We had a great stream yesterday, or I should say 1 a.m. this morning. It was awesome. Any contracts? Any contracts for what? Hello, Mr. No One. There's no such thing as a no one, so thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts on Freemasonry? Let me know. The first hour, first 60 minutes, I just hang out. Don't talk about anything specific. I'm not that type of Mason. I'm a speculative Mason, not an operative Mason, right? Which means I don't build things literally, I build things metaphorically. But help me get to 4,000 subs, and maybe I'll have the money to start building some walls. Who knows? ITANIMU. I don't know what that would be backwards, but Freemasonry has nothing to do with the Illuminati. So, despite what some people may think, Freemasonry has nothing to do with the Illuminati. They're completely separate organizations. I mean, the Illuminati hasn't really existed in any meaningful way for at least 100 years, maybe longer. Um, no, I don't build things literally. I build things metaphorically. I try to build communities and myself metaphorically. Hello, YouTube at notification. I don't know what that even means. Something can be literal or it can be figurative or abstract or metaphorical. I don't think I do, but all right. Jesus is I mean, there are many Christian Masons. There's also many Muslim Masons, Jewish Masons, Hindu, Sikh, but many Masons believe Jesus is the Son of God, and which is perfectly fine, right? Like, Freemasonry is not a religion itself. I personally am not Christian, but I know many Christian Freemasons. Um, the most important thing from a Masonic perspective is to be respectful of the religious beliefs of our neighbors, our friends, our family members, and our Masonic brothers, which I think is appropriate. Hello, which I think is the best, I think it's the best approach to life, never mind Masonically, just the best approach to life is to be respectful of the religious beliefs of our fellows in our communities. Good afternoon, brother Michael Moore. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for sending me those pictures. I really appreciated it. I hope you enjoyed the stream yesterday where we went over the um, National Register of Historic Places and the Preservation Month. I don't know if you guys have seen, but I did post a couple of quizzes yesterday on my community page. Hello, Lapis. Excellent. Thank you for being here. I mean, I appreciate that, Rion Vark. I'll always appreciate a shout out, whether there's 50,000 subs or 5 subs, but definitely with 50,000 subs, I'm grateful. And also, congratulations on 50,000 subs to that channel. That is awesome and something to be really proud of. None of that is true, Mr. No One. So, one of the poll questions or the quizzes to be considered eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places, a property must meet the National Register criteria for evaluation. This involves examining, and then there's 3 possibilities. The other question, according to the National Register of Historic Places, what type of significance does the Hampton Masonic Lodge building in Hampton, Arkansas have? International significance, local significance, national significance, or state significance? And again, you can discover the answer to these questions by going to the National Register database. I provide the link and doing a search. I mean, Sub-Zero wins. Hello, Shivam. Thank you for being here. Hello, I think I've passed. I mean, if you met with a local lodge and expressed your interest in joining Freemasonry, next thing is kind of patience. The lodge has to have a vote on you, and if the vote is successful, you should be hearing from them, and they should schedule your initiation. Good to see you from Australia, by the way, Mr. No One. Bring your fruit basket will not help you get elected or not help you get selected or successful application because Freemasons don't accept bribes. Having said that, honestly, I suppose it never hurts to try to grease the skids a little bit, even with a fruit basket. Can't be the worst thing in the world. Hello, D. Dovin. Thank you for being here. But I mean, it just takes time, right? So I hope your interview went well. And yeah, you kind of just go from there, right? The most important thing is patience when it comes to the application process. Sarah Sentia, my initiation went very well last night. That is awesome. Congratulations. I'm happy that it went very well for you. That is awesome to see. It is always going to be a unique experience, but that's true for joining any organization. Hopefully it spoke to you and it's something you'll take with you. So that's awesome. Should I bring a cheese platter? You don't have to. No, don't worry about it. Just bring yourself and be honest. Having said that, of course, I will never say no to free cheese. Hello, Ches. I can't pronounce your name, excuse me. Hello from UK. Hello from Canada. I'm from Windsor, Ontario. I love the United Kingdom, though. My dad is from the UK, so what size hat do I wear? I don't know. I've never had my head sized. But I have a big head, I'm told. Great to see a couple British people here. Absolutely. There you go. We are called Freemasons, not paid Masons. Of course, we don't take bribes. But I do like cheese. I wish we took bribes. I would take bribes and cheese happily. Interestingly enough, have you noticed a drop in purchasing power, increased price of goods versus wages since February 2026? Basically 50-60. Sorry, 50-50. Oops, we lost the question. Where is it? Oh, I think we're back. Sorry about that. I think we lost the stream for a second. Can everybody still see me? Have you noticed a drop in purchasing power or increased prices? 56% no, 44% yes. So I thought the yes would be a little bit higher, but it's still up there. And this matters to Freemasonry, right? Our ability to purchase, our purchasing power, the extent to which wages are negatively impacting um, purchasing power, like the extent to which inflation is increasing and inflation is outpacing purchasing power, that is going to start to make Masons question, can I afford to pay lodge dues? Can I afford to drive to a lodge meeting? Can I afford to go to that Masonic event? Like we have a Masonic event coming up here in Windsor. Tickets are $65. That's very inexpensive. However, for some Masons, even $65 may be too much if they're dealing with inflation, or maybe they're able to keep ahead of inflation, but the way they're doing so is by working extra hours. Every extra hour you work is one less hour you have to attend a Masonic event, or for that matter, spend time with your family or your friends or who knows what else, right? So it's tough, but we're going to talk about that more 60 minutes from now. For these first 60 minutes, we're just hanging out waiting to see who joins. So please hit like, please hit subscribe. I'm getting closer and closer to 4,000 subs. I'm currently 15 subs away. Actually, never mind. I'm 13 subs away. We're almost there. I have no problem looking like a medieval peasant. Those were tough sons of guns. So no complaints about looking like a medieval peasant at all. There's also, by the way, President Donald Trump is currently in China. I believe he landed there about 2 hours ago. I don't know what the consequences of the meeting will be. I understand it's about looking for trade deals, but we're going to see what happens. Right now, again, from an economic perspective, I think the United States is more dependent on China than ever in terms of getting in cheap goods and services into the country to try to ease inflation. All right, let's put some people in timeout for a second. We're going to, first 60 minutes though, again, we just hang out, chat about whatever it is, no specific talking points. So let me know how you guys are doing. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear it. And as always, though, let me know how you guys are doing. By the way, I still am dealing with the fact that my 1 a.m. live streams are more popular than my 1 p.m. live streams, which I think is interesting. It goes to show clearly my audience is like me, a bunch of night owls. Thank you, Grind. I appreciate that. I hope you're doing well, and thank you for being here. If you want to support the channel, Patreon, super chats, etc., etc. But I'm grateful for that, Grind, and I hope that you're doing well also. And my audience is wonderful and helps me keep going, so I appreciate it. I do not drink alcohol. I am Blue Lodge. Hello, Dad. I hope you're doing well. Um, Looking forward to seeing you, Dad, in about 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess. Um, I'm Blue Lodge. I'm Craft Lodge. I am the Worshipful Master of Border Cities Lodge number 554. I am also I am also a member of Scottish Rite, 18th degree, Rose Qua, and both a current and past master. Professor Mess, thank you for being here. I don't know if you are a Mason from Australia. I would love to visit a lodge in Australia. I think that would be incredible. Um, I hear there's so much beautiful Masonic buildings and lodges in Australia. So I would love to be there. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. Hit that like and subscribe button. Help me get over the 4,000 subscriber mark. Do I get paid? You do not get paid to be in a lodge. That is why I started Square Encompass Promotions. I'm trying to turn my passion for Freemasonry into a profession by creating content online and then hopefully getting people to support that content, which many people do and I'm grateful for. There are, some lodges which may provide like a stipend to, let's say, the secretary to reflect all the work he has to do. That does happen sometimes, but usually it's like $50 a month, if that. Well, you shouldn't want to join my lodge. You should want to join a lodge in your area because Ontario is a very big province. So you need to keep that in mind. But depending where you are, there should be a lodge close to you that you can look at joining. If I encourage anybody to take a look at joining Freemasonry, that's a good day for me. So I appreciate you saying that. Hello, Jeremy. How's it going? Thank you for being here. Hopper, hello from Europe. What part of Europe uh, are you at? I was in Europe last year. I was in Scotland, and it was awesome. Scotland is an absolutely beautiful place, as is England. I was in both. Um, Freemasonry started in Europe, right? Started in Scotland. But I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well also, and thank you for being here. Mordor's Madness. I was just in England. How's it going? I was in London and then Newcastle. Mordor's, I hope you're doing well. As always, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and let me know how you're doing. I do not know what an NEET is, but I hope it's a good thing. And let me know how it's going. I did not get a bag of soil yet. Believe me, once I get a bag of soil, the first thing I will do, I promise, is take a picture of it and then show you guys my, seed growth. Thank you, Mordors. Do you have any questions about Freemasonry? Any thoughts, any comments? Positive, negative, neutral? I'd love to hear it. France. Hopper, I wish I could visit France, or I can visit France. I wish that I have visited in the past. I'd love to be there. There's a lot of cool masonry there. Freemasonry in France has a fascinating history. Um, between the Grand Orient and then Grand Lodge of France and co-masonry. It's a really interesting history, so I'd love to visit it. We got a lot of Brits in the chat, which is awesome. It's great to see the British people showing up. My dad, amongst many others. Thank you all for being here. Yes, the secretary is the true boss of the lodge. I think we all know that, but the master is number two. Hello, JD. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. How's it going? It depends, part of country, LOL. I mean, I would love to visit any part of France. Obviously, when I think of France, the first thing I think of is Paris, just because, I mean, if nothing else, that's where I'd fly to because I think it'd be the cheapest place to fly into. But obviously, there's way more to France than a single city. But Paris was one of the earliest places to adopt a Masonic lodge after London and after the Grand Lodge, because obviously Paris is a port town. And so it was, Freemasonry spread on water, spread through ports. It was very often the very first lodge in an area would be in a port or in a shipyard or docking place like Boston, Hong Kong, Macau, Paris, etc., etc. Professor Mess, DGIW coming. I don't know what that means. I am a third degree Master Mason. We got a North Yorkshire here. We got a Geordie and my dad. Now, my dad, I guess, would say technically he's not a Geordie, but he's closer to Newcastle than anywhere else to my knowledge. So, when can we go fishing this summer? Where are we going fishing? What's fishing? I mean, I don't mind fishing. I've grown to like it more as I got older. When I was young, I never saw the point of it. We have looked at organizing fishing trips in the Masonic Lodge in the past, to its credit. So I think things like Masonic fishing trips and celebrations and camping trips are actually really good ways to grow lodges and grow Freemasonry, and create more closeness between lodges. In third place of who is most important? Oh, I mean, it goes secretary, secretary, secretary are the three most important positions in the lodge. Then fourth place is secretary. Then fifth place is secretary. Then sixth place is master. Then seventh place is secretary. About price, same here. So everybody's feeling it, I think. And again, at what point does it become a situation where brethren are having to put masonry on the back burner to focus on, working more hours, working longer hours, saving more money, not wanting to spend money on gas to travel to lodge, not wanting to spend money on tickets to celebrations, whatever it might be? Well, first of all, Scott Cooley, I assure you, I have never worn makeup in my life. I'm way too lazy to wear makeup. Like, if you think, I mean, I can barely bother to wash my face, for heaven's sakes, let alone wearing makeup. Not that I'm a secretary anymore, but I was a secretary for a few years. Um, I remember those days, believe me. Welcome, Scott. By the way, Scott, don't let me forget, I got to send a email to you guys. I'm going to be purchasing a ticket for the event on the 30th. So just don't let me forget. I need to send an email. Both, I'll be there for one, and then I'll be there for the dinner itself. I forget where it is now, but I'll get a ride there. Crazy situation, don't know where to go. Barry's Money, best merch ever. Well, thank you for that, Barry's Money. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. I didn't know, what merchandise have you got? Are you a Patreon? Because obviously the Patreons, I send merchandise. We have postcards, coins, pins, bookmarks, a lot of different stuff. You'll see it all on the Patreon page. But Barry's Money, thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. And let me know how it's going. Don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button. We're getting close to 4,000. We're almost there. I hate those white gloves so much, but I don't have a pair myself. They were always given to us. The lodge has them. They were always handed out at the start. I haven't worn white gloves in forever. I hated wearing those. It was such a pain in the ass because I'm in a wheelchair, and so I could never get a good grip of my wheels while I was wearing them. So I'd always be slipping and sliding everywhere or not being able to push well. And then on top of that, if I was doing the working tools lecture, trying to hold the tools with the white gloves was impossible. It was a never-ending pain in the butt. Um, it was um, it was our former worshipful master. This was in 2013, 12, who insisted everyone wear their gloves, and it drove me crazy. Um, I was very happy that I was very happy that I did not have to wear those gloves anymore after that year. Oh, it was brutal. Like, and they would get dirty. They would get, because again, I'd be wheeling everywhere, and they would pick up dirt from my wheels. And then that was one worshipful master. He was a great dude. I loved him. But I used to hate it that every time we'd have a degree, he'd make us wear gloves along with our tuxedos or our suit and tie, because he was very like, you know, wanted the lodge to be as formal as possible. White gloves. It really dates back to like the 20s when it was considered a part of formal dress, but um, I'm happy that that has gone away. Knowledge kept. I mean, are you talking about my Masonic building or just lodges in general? Some lodges do, some lodges don't. I was just actually at a conference in Ottawa, which I loved being there very much, where they were talking about accessibility and ways to make buildings more accessible, which I really enjoyed. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun to be there. And yeah, they talked about all the different things you need to do to make your building more accessible, whether it be ramps or elevators or braille signage or sound systems for people who are hard of hearing or proper lighting, emergency evacuation plans for those with disabilities, and a million other things. So I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Barry's money. I do not know what Arizona hot fire means, but I will say I've been to Arizona. It was warm. It was definitely warm. I'll not disagree with that. I was in Phoenix. We're going to just keep hanging out, wait to see you join us again. First 60 minutes, no specific talking points, just hang out, chat about whatever. So let me know how you're doing, if anything you want to talk about. Then we'll get into the economic questions and how that's affecting Freemasonry. And we are now 12 subscribers away from 4,000. So let's see if we can get there. And let me know if there's anything else you guys want to talk about when it comes to, as always, Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. But first 60 minutes, I just hang out and chat with people, see who jumps on to say hello. Hello, good morning to you as well, Juan Kenobi. How's it going? Thanks for jumping on and saying hello. I hope you're having a good day or a good morning. Technically, it's not morning for me. It's 1:37, so it's afternoon. I'm glad it's going good. I hope you're doing well. Take a moment, hit that like button, share this stream, follow me on social media, all the things I always say. Because they're little things, but they help. So I'd appreciate it very much. Yeah, if that's for our building, right? I don't know if he's talking about, I don't know if he's talking about, like, if he's talking about Masonic buildings in general or mine specifically, because I've been to, unfortunately, many Masonic buildings that are not accessible. Um, but I also been to many Masonic buildings where they are working hard to make them accessible, which is a challenge, obviously, right? Because a lot of these buildings are older, they may be heritage, there's a million different issues. And so, yeah, it's really tough to necessarily know sometimes for buildings to create accessible spaces, but we have to do our best and try our best. Um, at the end of the day, right, what more can you do but that, to be fair? I don't know if there's a lot else that can be done. All we can do is our best and kind of let the chips fall where they may. 30 votes. Yes, a drop in purchasing power or increased price of goods compared to wages. So, yes, it's going up. And it doesn't surprise me, but it's obvious that that is going to have an effect on Freemasonry. I'm going to talk about what that effect is or what that effect could be once we're done, once we're the first 60 minutes in. But the first 60 minutes, again, I just hang out, answer questions, chat with people, whatever it might be. I don't know because I don't have a car. It's over $6. It's the average right now. Actually, hold on just one second. In the so right now it's 169.9 in Costco. Um, CNN actually was talking about what it was in the States. Let me just pull that up. I'll tell you, I noticed the cost though, because I recently traveled to Ottawa for the day, and the price of the bus ticket was a lot more than it usually is. Do they still have it? No, I don't see it right now. But I remember them saying that the cost of the typical ticket domestically is up by $35, I think. And the typical cost of a ticket for international flights is over $300 more expensive on average. So it's going up 1.71 a liter. And again, if you're traveling to a Masonic meeting somewhere and it's, let's say normally it would cost you $5 in gas to get to the Masonic meeting, and now it's costing you $10 in gas, to get to the Masonic meeting. That may not seem like a lot, but over a year, it can start to add up. At what point do you start to cut back on the number of trips you take to a Masonic Lodge event? Why do I look like that? Because I'm very handsome. What can I say? X sin. Please hit like and subscribe. We're just going to wait to see who jumps in the chat to say hello. Again, first 60 minutes, no specific talking points. We just chat about whatever. I will say my 1 a.m. streams are a lot more raucous than these ones. Here, £2, even more different stations. So not cheaper. I mean, I think Europe is being affected. Um, I think Europe is being hit really hard right now, and Asia especially by the Iran war, by the Straits of Hormuz being the Straits of Hormuz being closed. I think it's affecting those countries a lot more than it is affecting us in North America right now, but it is affecting us and it's going to get a lot worse unless things start to change rapidly. So, soon I'll have a new monthly dues to the Royal Arch. That is awesome. I mean, I was going to say that's awesome. I guess it's never fun to end up with more dues to pay, but at least you're paying dues because you're part of a organization that hopefully you love and you enjoy very much. So Yeah, but it's another example of just expenses go up. And at what point do people have to start thinking to themselves, like, can I afford to, um, can I afford to pay my dues and pay for food and pay for gas and whatever else it might be, and take the time off work to go to these events and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, Hello, Brotherhood. Thanks for being here. I think it's been a little while since I've seen you. It's been a minute. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. Um, I'm sure it's worth it as well, but some Masons may have to start making some different decisions, unfortunately. Our government are purposely eliminating. I don't think the government's purposely eliminating what's left of the middle class, but I do think a lot of decisions are being made are squeezing the working class or the middle class, and forcing people to either be, you kind of have to be rich just to survive. At which point, what is the middle class even, right? Um, so, Spirit, are you excited to be part of the? Are you excited to be part of the Royal Arch? Nice. So when do you officially join? When do those dues kick in? Next month. Nice. Would you say in your area, York Rite is more popular than Scottish Rite or about the same? Here in Canada, in my experience, Scottish Rite is the more popular of the appendant bodies. But what's your experience? By the way, I see your picture. Way to rub it in. I miss Spirit. They made it affordable to travel. As these things, as we lose more cost-effective carriers, or what's the word? More economical carriers, prices of tickets are going to go up. All right. We got some smiles. I don't know if that's Smokey the Clown. If it is Smokey, welcome. How's it going? Thank you for being here. Please take a moment, hit that like button. It's mostly Scottish right here. So same as in Canada, but York has novelty because it's American. I mean, I think, York or Preston Webb is American, but York right is in the Knights Templar. That started in France with Andrew Raymond Chevalier, if I recall correctly, with his, speech in 1737, written down in 1741. But again, I would love to make it back to, I would desperately love to make it back to South America. I was in Brazil and I was in Colombia, and both were beautiful. Bogota, Colombia, and Rio de Janeiro, and both were absolutely incredible. South America is beautiful people, beautiful country, incredible Freemasonry, beautiful buildings, by the way, absolutely gorgeous. So I would like beautiful Masonic buildings. So I would love to get back there when I can. It's on my list, believe me. We made it to 3,989 subs, so we're 11 away. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to look into that more because, so obviously, when people talk about types of ritual, they'll talk about emulation ritual, which is from UGLE, and they'll talk about Preston Webb or York ritual, which is American. But then also, York rite is usually referred to as, the three chapters, starting with Mark Master Mason and then going through to Knights Templar. I've never heard it described as American before because, again, the origins of it was a speech by a a Scottish Mason in France, again Raymond Chevalier, who claimed Masonic connection to the Crusaders, which eventually became the Templars. But I'll have to double check because maybe I'm mistaken about that, or maybe I got something wrong, which is very possible. Either way, I hope you enjoy it. I'm sure it'll be incredible. I'm sure you'll love it. Let me know how it goes and what you think of it afterwards. Come back on the stream and let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Um, I've got a lot of friends in York Rite and a lot of friends in Scottish Rite. It's an incredible. Both of them are incredible. And ultimately, you should decide what, is best for you and what you enjoy the most. Of course, Spirit, anytime. And once again, we're just going to keep hanging out, wait to see who joins. Once we get to this 60-minute mark, we'll switch over, start on the more specific topics. But for now, it's just chatting. I do enjoy these, seeing what people want to say, what people want to talk about. Again, my 1 a.m. streams, I'll say this, my 1 a.m. streams are always way more popular than my 1 p.m. streams. So I don't know what that says about my audience, other than they're a bunch of night owls like me. But that's okay, night owls, it's a good thing. Who needs sleep anyways, right? Kevin Fort Worth, that's a great question. Oh my gosh. I mean, it's so hard. Like Detroit Masonic Temple has to be up there without a doubt, right? Detroit needs to be in that conversation. It's the biggest Masonic temple in the world. Um, oh my gosh. I mean, eh, Philadelphia is absolutely gorgeous, and Philadelphia needs to be in there as well. The Masonic building in Bogota, Colombia, had the most beautiful roof ceiling I've ever seen. I mean, the building itself was incredible, but the ceiling was majestic as well. I mean, from an emotional perspective, Windsor Masonic Temple has to be up there without a doubt. Um, I mean, so too does Glenview Masonic Temple, which is one of my favorite Masonic buildings in the world. Um, but I think I'd have to go with either Philadelphia or Detroit. I mean, UGLE, Grand Lodge in England, Freemasons Hall is up there as well. I've been grateful to visit so many Masonic buildings around the world. Um, Not employed, educated. Well, help me if I'm none of those things, then I could use your help. So do a super chat. Would be much obliged. Hello, Eldro93. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. How's it going? Oops. We got 34 votes, by the way, on the poll question. Have you noticed a drop in purchasing power or increased prices of goods versus wages since February 2026? Yes, 59%. At what point did that 59% of people saying yes start to think the cost of Freemasonry is just too high? It would not shock me. for the time being, just going to wait to see who jumps on. We're going to just keep hanging out, waiting to see how it's going. Any thoughts on Freemasonry? Let me know. Once we get, the first 60 minutes in, we switch over and have specific topics. In this case, the economy and how it's affecting Freemasonry, or more specifically, how it will affect Freemasonry. But for the time being, jump in the chat and say hello. If you were to recommend a book about Freemasonry that explains it to novices, what would those books be? So my first recommendation is always going to be, so my recommendation is always going to be, first and foremost, Freemasonry for Dummies by Freemasonry for Dummies by Chris Hodap. I think it's an incredible book. I think it's very good basic information. I think that's the best place to start, is Freemasonry for Dummies. And then from there, I always enjoy talking about, the different, there are so many, like genuinely, there are so many incredible newsletters out there that are completely for free. I'd recommend checking my Medium page, where I list all the different newsletters you can sign up for, from Idaho to California to Texas. And they're great because they provide information for novices about Freemasonry and kind of the different activities we get engaged in and how you can learn more about it. So I'd recommend that as well. And hope that you guys will check it out. This is my job, so take a few moments to hit that like and subscribe button and consider a super chat. But Freemasonry for Dummies, Kevin by Chris Hodap, that's where I'd start. And then number 2 would be my Medium blog. And then this channel as well, obviously, because of course I'm going to say that. Cloaked Zeus, on a side note, did you answer the poll question? And if you did, how did you answer it? Are you finding your purchasing power reduced? And if so, by how much or why? Thank you, Hopper. Yeah, this was just a fun hangout stream. Again, the first 60 minutes, I just chat about, just answer questions from the chat, hang out with people. It's the second 60 minutes that I have more specific talking points. But I appreciate you being here very much. We're going to give it a bit more time. Jump on the chat, say hello. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, neutral, let me know. I'd love to hear them. Well, that's a really good question, Kevin Fort Worth. Join a Masonic lodge is one way of doing so. It's like when you say how would I do it, like the way I would do it is not the same, nor should it be the same as the way, excuse me, others would do it, right? Like, I'm trying to think of how to put this. So the first thing you need to figure out is, okay, what is it that interests you? How do you want to give back? Maybe you find interest or you find passion in environmental causes. So maybe you're going to want to start looking at how you can make your parks, your community cleaner, like trash collection or litter pickup or lobbying for cleaning out cleaning out local ponds or lakes, whatever it is, right? Others, you may love sports and want to, coach a little league team or coach a sports team, whatever it might be, right? Like, there is no single, like, that's the reason why it's so tough, is everybody needs to figure out what they love and pursue that. But I would also say and recognize that no matter how hard it is, like that, no matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you plan to work, um, or want to work, you cannot do it all on your own. You just can't. You have to recognize and understand that in order to be successful at giving back to the community, the more you work with other people, the better you will, the more you'll be able to accomplish and the more you'll be able to give back. So try to find like-minded people who care about the same things you care about, and focus on that would be one piece of advice I'd give. And what does it mean to be a citizen who has prioritized their home? Well, I think we as citizens should always, hopefully, want to prioritize our home. I've said it a million times. I'm a Canadian first, more so than, I'm a Canadian first, then a Freemason, and I want to see Canada thrive. And prioritizing my home is simply a recognition that I can do the most good completely around me, right? Like, I can do more good for my neighbor than I can for the person who lives in British Columbia, even though we're both Canadians. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't care about Canada as a whole also. Yes, Ginger, I'm just gonna call you Yes Jin. The Catholic, I wouldn't call it an equivalent. I don't think that's fair to, like, I don't think that's necessarily fair either to the Knights of Columbus or to Freemasons, right? It's kind of like saying, I don't know, the equivalent of, like, they're separate organizations, they're unique. Each one has unique history to it, unique practices, unique rituals. However, both of them are civic institutions, and Knights of Columbus was kind of adopted as a, for lack of a better term, as a response to Catholics who wanted to join a fraternal organization but could not join Freemasonry due to the Catholic stance on it. But I love the Knights of Columbus. I think they're an awesome group. I think they, in the same way Freemasonry, through civic engagement makes the world a better place, so too do the Knights of Columbus. And I wish anybody who wishes to join the Knights of Columbus all the best. Whether you join the Knights of Columbus, the Masons, the Moose, whatever it might be, the most important thing is that you get involved, get active, be part of your community. Communities matter, so there you go. We are now 11 subscribers away from 4,000 subs, so let's see if we can make it. Help a brother out. How do you cultivate like-minded people and others who care about their neighborhood? Well, I mean, there's no such thing as a selfless act that has nothing to do with you. Because you're the one performing the act, it obviously will have something to do with you. I mean, I'm looking at being a kidney donor for somebody. You could argue it's a selfless act. You could argue in some ways it's a selfish act, and that doing so makes me feel good about myself. But either way, it has a lot to do with me, right? So I think every act has something to do with it. I think it doesn't differ from personal responsibility. I've always viewed the person and the community and the society as in some ways inseparable. The reason that I have a responsibility to, for example, be healthy and care for my physical self is because if I injure myself or hurt myself or, have a heart attack or whatever it is, I am now taking up resources that could be used for others in the community. The healthier I am, the better I'm able to contribute to the world around me and to my community. So this idea of I'm not one who necessarily views the person and society as different. I think, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But every individual has a responsibility to themselves and through themselves to their communities, and vice versa. Um, I do not know what the tiny hats. Oh, I think we got an anti-Semitic guy in the chat, Derek. Being you, anti-Semitism is baloney. So stop being a stupid person. Jewish people. There are many Jewish Freemasons. There are many Hindu Freemasons and Sikh Freemasons. Freemasonry is not specific to any particular religion or ethnicity, nor should it be. I mean, uh, I don't know about that necessarily. I think as a general rule, my belief has always been that in the same way I am an individual, but I am part of a community and therefore have a responsibility to that community. A country is a country, but is also part of the world and therefore or the globe, and therefore has a responsibility to that globe. Um, it's not my label, it's just an accurate label. I mean, when you say the evil of the tiny hats, that's pretty clearly anti-Semitic. Or pretty obviously anti-Semitic. So I'm not really sure how it could be anything but. But you just strike me as a bad person, in fairness. Do you think people have a bird of the right to join America? Well, I mean, when you say have the right to, that's a legal question. I have no idea. I don't know what the rules are in terms of separation and then joining another country. I mean, I know a little bit about, I remember the sovereignty debates within Quebec. I think it'd be very stupid and foolish for Alberta to want to leave and then join America. But I suppose if there is a legal process to do so, then they can oblige themselves of that legal process. I just don't think it'd be good for anybody, but certainly not for Alberta. Um, right? I mean, it might seem in the short term like a good solution, but I would highly question that. 40 votes. Let's see. Have you noticed a drop in purchasing power or increased price of goods versus wage? Yes, 60%, no, 40%. So, um, we are at, we are at 60% of people are noticing this increase. Um, Stupid tomato. In reference to your poll, the only thing I've noticed is temporary spike in fuel prices. So, by the way, don't call yourself stupid. I'm sure you're a great tomato. Where is around here for you? I mean, fuel prices are a big deal, though. Like, don't get me wrong, fuel prices are absolutely a big deal, right? And I think in some ways, that is going to start to affect everything else. But for a lot of Masons, when they're thinking about making it to and from their Masonic lodge meetings, it is fuel prices that they're thinking about because they need to transport themselves there, right? But I'm glad to see that most things are actually getting cheaper for you or staying the same. That does make me happy, and I hope that that continues for you. And a part of this is also keep in mind geographic in nature, right? The geography of where you are, where you're going. The geography of where you live is going to affect the cost of living increases. Like gas right now in California, I think is $6 on average, whereas the national average I think is 4.80, something like that. So, all right. Well, um, I think we can get started on the topic. We are an hour in. So let's start with this report from, or the story from CNN, updated on May 12th, 2026. This is from the United States, but Canada is experiencing the same thing as well as many countries. U.S. inflation rose to 3.8% in April, eroding Americans' paycheck. I'm in the Midwest. Nice. I mean, I love the Midwest. I love Chicago, which is what I think of the Midwest. It's a really hard question to answer, Kevin. Passion or paycheck? I mean, I'd like to say passion, but if you, especially if you have a family and you got a kid who needs to eat, your passions can't necessarily feed the kid, right? It's really tough. I would say the younger you are, the more important it is to chase your passions because you have time and no one's kind of depending on you. I'm living in Windsor, Ontario. Bed. I'm gonna call you Bed. Please hit like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Carly, I'm not a Christian myself, but please hit like and subscribe. I'd appreciate that as well. Many Freemasons are. So this is from CNN. For the first time in 3 years, American wages are no longer outpacing inflation. Prices rose 0.6% on a monthly basis, driving the annual rate to 3.8%, the highest since May 2023, according to the latest Consumer Price Index data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Economists had expected prices to rise 0.6% from March and for the annual rate to climb to 3.7%. Prior to the late February US Israel strikes on Iran, inflation had eased to 2.4%. It leapt higher in March, and now the energy price shock from the Iran war is further compounding long-standing affordability concerns for Americans weighed down by years of fast rising prices. For consumers, that means the cost of living remains uncomfortable, economist Sun Wan Soon, a finance and economics professor, stated. For the Federal Reserve, it means rate cuts are likely to be pushed for the future, which means your mortgage is more expensive, loans are more expensive, interest rates are more expensive. Price your produce, fuel, and electricity. The post-pandemic inflationary burst when the annual pace of price hikes hit four-decade high of 9.1% in the summer of 2022 drastically lifted all manner of prices. However, in recent years, as inflation slowed, at least some Americans were able to get a leg up as their pay was rising faster than inflation. That changed last month. Annual inflation adjusted average hourly wage growth went negative for the first time since April 2023. Paychecks grew 3.6% from April last year. Prices rose 3.8%. Consumers are already under pressure. We've seen a softening in the labor market. This unwelcome milestone arrives as Americans are contending with energy price shock that's ripping through the economy, making commonly purchased items even more expensive. It's not just oil. A choked off Strait of Hormuz has interrupted a flow of other critical materials, fertilizers, aluminum, and helium. As it stands now, higher prices are hitting consumers in some of the most visible places: the gas station, grocery store, electric bills. Gas prices didn't rise as fast as they did in March when they shot up by a record 21.2%. However, the 5.4 increase in April was the second fastest seen since the latter part of 2023. Electricity prices moved higher last year because of factors such as demand for data centers, weather, and infrastructure costs. Food prices rose 0.5% and are up respective 3.2 and 3.6% from the year before. If you're the junior warden of your lodge and you got to pay for the food, you're seeing that cost. I've even noticed Masonic lodges, the bill for the food that the lodge pays for refreshments after meeting is going up. Meat prices, particularly beef, continued to climb, but so did produce. Stupid tomato. Tomato prices soared by more than 15% for the second month in a row. The war has come home, and Americans can feel it and see it in their groceries basket, Joe Brussels, RSM U.S. chief economist, told CNN. While rising energy prices accounted for 40% of April's monthly inflation gain, another contributing factor were higher housing-related price hikes, which were shelter costs, boosted by a one-time adjustment related to last year's government shutdown. Shelter inflation, one of the highest weighted categories, jumped 0.6%. So it's cost more to basically have a home. And also with the Fed pushing out possible rate cuts, your mortgage and your insurance rate on the mortgage is not going down. So economic unhappiness has become a fixture of the political landscape. A new CNN poll conducted by SSRS found that 77%, including majority Republicans, say that the president's policies have increased the cost of living in their own community. You're also seeing wealth increase or wealth disparity increase. Price increase over the last 5 years. A pound of coffee up 105%. That makes me sad because I love coffee. Pound of ground beef, 68% increase. Fuel and oil, 63%. Auto insurance, 58%. Transportation, 43%. Gasoline, 42%. Utilities, 42%. A dozen eggs, 39%. Electricity, 39%. Home prices, 37%. Restaurants, 30%. Shelter, 29%. Health insurance for a family, 27%. Groceries, 26%. New cars, 20%. That is from data via Y charts as of April 30th, 2026. This was provided by Breaking Points today. You think about it, some of these costs are directly related and directly impacted by, or directly related to Freemasonry, or at least will affect Freemasonry. Obviously, transportation, the increases by 43% in 5 years. It means it's 43% more expensive to transport yourself to and from your Masonic meetings and Masonic events. Now, that's not a big deal if it takes you maybe, a 10-minute drive to get to your lodge meeting, maybe a 5-minute drive. What if you're in a small town, or what if you live out, an hour away from your lodge meeting, 2 hours away from your lodge meeting? Maybe 5 years ago, you're willing to take that drive because it's not that expensive, relatively speaking. In 2026, suddenly a 43%, a 43% increase in the cost of transportation. It's a pretty big deal. Right? Especially if you're driving a couple hours. We had a discussion with somebody on this channel a little while ago who wanted to attend a Masonic funeral service, but the problem is the funeral service was about 2-hour drive, and it was just too expensive, the cost of gas, for him to justify a 4-hour travel, 4-hour trip back and forth. Auto insurance. If people, are now spending 58% more on auto insurance than they were 5 years ago, can they still afford to drive? Can they still afford their car? And again, at what point does that mean they can't physically travel or transport themselves to a Masonic event? But then also, a lot of these costs maybe are not directly impacting Freemasonry, but they are indirectly impacting Freemasonry. Family health insurance by 27%. Groceries 26%, new cars 20%. As every one of these things increases in cost, at what point do we in Freemasonry say the choice is paying for my Masonic dues or paying for Masonic dues or paying for health insurance, paying for groceries, paying for gas utilities, paying for ground beef, paying for coffee? It seems like a little thing, or maybe it's not that they'll still pay their dues, but they're not going to pay to attend special events. Like we have an event coming up here in Essex. Tickets are $65, which would be probably about $45, $50 American. That doesn't sound like that much. However, are you willing to spend $65 to go to a Masonic event, pay for a ticket to go to a Masonic banquet, when you're also paying 27% more in health insurance cost, 29% more in shelter costs, 37% more in home prices? Or maybe you're willing to spend the money, but you don't have the time to make up for these increased costs. You need health insurance, you need shelter, you need home prices, you need eggs, you need whatever it is. Maybe you're choosing to work extra hours. And if you're choosing to work extra hours, every extra hour you work to keep up with the cost of inflation is 1 hour less you have to attend Masonic events, attend Masonic celebrations. And then also, all of these increases in costs are going to affect our Masonic buildings and Masonic experiences as well, right? So, gas utilities at an increase of 42% over the last 5 years. That means it costs 42% more to heat our Masonic buildings than it did 5 years ago. That means it costs 42% more to keep the lights on than it did 4 years ago with electricity, or excuse me, electricity at 39%. Basically, the cost of keeping the lights on in our buildings and keeping the buildings heated is up by 39% and 42% respectively. Food, groceries is up 26%, beef is up 68%, pound of coffee 105%. If our Masonic lodges are providing meals as they should be, the junior warden, purchasing food, coffee, refreshments for meals either after the meeting or before the meeting, that lodge is now looking at an increased cost of, where is it? 68% if they want to serve their brethren beef, 26% if they want to serve them other groceries. Either way, that lodge is looking at having a lot more expensive meals. At a certain point, the lodge needs to look at increasing the dues to pay for those things. So the article I was reading, it's entitled U.S. Inflation. It's entitled U.S. Inflation Rose to 3.8% in April, eroding Americans' paychecks. It is from CNN.com. It's dated May 12th, 2026 by Alicia Wallace. These numbers, cumulative price increases in the U.S. over the last 5 years, it is a data via Y charts as of April 30th, 2026. It was posted by Charlie Bilello on X, at Charlie Bilello. It was also referenced on Breaking Points, dated today, at the 17-minute, 59-second mark of the YouTube video entitled Trump, I Don't Care About American Finances. And that's a good thing, Dad, to cover the difficulties of a brother and cover their fees if they're financially challenged. But if the lodge itself is experienced increased costs associated with utilities for its building and junior warden expenses, can they continue to afford to cover the cost for the brother? I like the cat idea as well. Hypno Bike, please hit like and subscribe. Trying to get to 4,000. Here's what Breaking Points had to say about this. We're going to take this 1 second. I'm just pulling it up right now. What's happening on this earth, especially this part of the globe for us? Heather Long, phenomenal reporter at the Washington Post, talking about inflation. She points out inflation is now eating up all wage gains for the first time in 3 years. A painful Americans' true financial squeeze. The CPI inflation in the past year was 3.8%. Wage gains were 3.6%. If you combine that not only with the wage data, but you take in mind of the gas price, which has already eaten up the vast majority of the tax refund, which anybody may have gotten as a result of the big, beautiful bill, you can really consider like a materially people becoming poorer in the United States over the last 3 years, as an empirical fact. Americans are trying to work more hours to keep up as gas and food prices rise. This is from Heather Long. Even so, real average weekly earnings decreased in April as inflation ate up the wage gains and extra hours worked. Real weekly earnings for all workers was down 0.2% in April. Real weekly earnings for rank and file workers, 0.3% in April. I want to go back to, again, that first statement from Heather Long, at Heather Long on X. Americans are trying to work more hours to keep up as gas and food prices rise. So again, at what point, how many additional hours can you work before you can no longer attend your Masonic lodge or attend a Masonic celebration or attend a Masonic event, right? It's one of those things where it's very easy for us to look back and say, who cares about the economy? Freemasonry separate from that. It's not separate from the economy when our membership are choosing to work more hours to keep up with rising costs and are not attending lodge as a consequence, either because they're too tired from working a lot of hours or they simply, have to work during a lodge meeting. Or it's not hypothetical when suddenly our lodge budgets explode, or because we're paying more for utilities on our buildings and more for the junior wardens fund to pay for meals before or after lodge. It's not hypothetical when a member chooses not to purchase a ticket for a Masonic event because his family health insurance has gone up by 27% and it's one or the other. It's not hypothetical when a Masonic brother chooses not to drive to a Masonic celebration or Masonic event or Masonic meeting because it's going to cost him an extra $5 in gas, right? None of this stuff is hypothetical when we get to this point. And I think it's really important that we keep those things in mind and we do what we can to try to push back against them. One option, organize carpools to and from our Masonic meetings. It's a little thing, but 5 people splitting the cost of gas to go to a Masonic meeting is better than one person or 5 people each paying full cost for gas. Advocating for public transit in your community and asking them to put public transit bus stops in front of or close to your Masonic lodge buildings so people on fixed incomes can take the bus to get to and from Masonic meetings so they're not, having to pay for gas or pay for cars, especially when, again, auto insurance has increased by 58% over the last 5 years in terms of cost. Focusing on more fresh, healthy foods that don't involve meat, which is usually the most expensive budget in a junior warden's refreshment budget. More vegetables. Also, having Masonic lodges focus on health and well-being, because again, family health insurance has increased by 27%. I don't know if that means premiums or deductibles, but deductibles are not cheap. Not needing to use the hospital is a good thing in general, but especially from a financial perspective. So what in our Masonic lodges can we do to encourage healthy living? Healthy food that has more fruits and vegetables and less meat is not a bad thing, not a bad place to start. Also, meditation, mindfulness, all that stuff is incredibly important. So there you go. And paying attention to these things matters a lot as well. And recognizing if our Masonic lodges are struggling, it might not be like a lot of times when a Masonic lodge struggles, there's this tendency, and it's unfortunate, and it creates resentments, to blame the worshipful master, to blame the people in charge, to claim, oh, they didn't, work hard enough or they didn't care enough or whatever it might be. Um, Sometimes it's something that is completely out of the lodge's control. It could just be that everybody in that lodge is struggling to, struggling to pay the bills, and they no longer have the space in their mind or in their heart or in their body because they might be tired and exhausted for Freemasonry, right? And I think that should encourage us to give grace, not just to those not showing up, which I have a hard time doing sometimes, but grace to the lodge itself that's struggling and being willing to maybe overlook some of the dumb things we have in Freemasonry, like quorum requirements, because with this economy, it's crazy to expect Masons to be showing up sometimes. And to punish them who can. So maybe a little bit more grace. Also, grace for our junior wardens who are competing with, budgets versus rising cost of food. And maybe this should remind us to give not necessarily Masons more grace, but the Masonic lodges more grace as they try to navigate this incredibly challenging time. Um, Lynn, I mean, I don't know if I like or don't like the economy. I don't think you can like, I mean, the economy is simply a representation of the financial and employment, data in a country. But I think it's important that we as Freemasons pay attention to the economy. I think that's absolutely vital. Lynn, thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. I'm so close. I am so close to 4,000 subs. I've been trying to get there forever. It's just taken so long. So help a brother out. I'd be much obliged. Things are very expensive in Canada. We're dealing with it as best we can, but it's tough. And I hope that those were maybe I gave you some ideas there that you maybe apply to your lodges. I don't know how much a gallon of milk is. I don't drink milk. But not down. I can tell you that. That's the old West Wing Bill Clinton question. What do you mean? I mean, in Canada, or do you mean where I am right now? Or the average cost? Because I think for me, a pound of ground beef is about $7 to 7.50. In Canada, I don't know. So seven, I don't know if Lynn, I don't know if you are from Windsor or like I don't know if you're from Canada, or United States. 7.50 Canadian would probably be about probably be about $6 American, $5 or $6 American, something like that. Um, well, I mean, it's very hard to start a fundraising project to bring the cost of living down because cost of living is kind of separate from raising funds. You raise funds to cover the cost of living, not to bring the cost of living down. Cost of living is a political consequence, right? What you would do is you would do fundraisers so that people could afford cost of living increases, especially if someone's struggling financially. And also keep in mind for all of the above, benevolence is another option, right? Family health insurance goes up 27%. Somebody needs that health insurance because they have a sick family member. Are we in Freemasonry dedicating ourselves to helping that brother with benevolence? But that also creates pressure on lodge funds. So, um, on average, how much is rent? I mean, I think one bedroom, probably about 15 to 1600, I think would be relative. That's a one bedroom. Studio, probably about 1,000. That I don't know for sure. I haven't looked at renting in a long time, but well, if we're looking at doing fundraising, I mean, there's a million ways to fundraise. There's golf tournaments, there's bake sales. I think fundraising is a good short-term solution to these problems, but it's not a good long-term solution because you can only fundraise so many times before people can't afford to provide any more funds. At which point you're kind of in the same boat. We are now 8 subs away from 4,000 subs. So once again, help a brother out. See if we can get there. I would be much obliged. We're going to keep hanging out. Wait to see, as always, who joins. Please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe, and any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. Well, for the long term, we kind of have two options. Um, like so I think there's three. First, for the long term and the short term, lapis exilis, I think we as Freemasons need to give more grace to our Masonic lodges as they struggle to balance all of these different competing factors. So, for example, I've said this a million times, it is absolutely insane to have a quorum requirement in Masonic lodges. It's absolute bullshit. But it's especially insane to have these requirements when we have these massive issues surrounding the economy. Expecting brethren to show up to lodge or the lodge goes dark, while at the same time seeing Americans needing to work more hours to keep up gas and food prices, you're basically forcing them to choose between the lodge existing and their ability to afford gas and food prices. Grace means getting rid of dumb requirements like quorums, or it means looking the other way when quorum can't be reached because people are so economically squeezed. It also means being more, giving more grace to lodges that maybe have to increase dues or have to cut back on expenses. When people say things like, why don't lodges hold more public events, more events at all? Well, because holding events is more expensive. If you want to hold an event, let's say go to a restaurant, the cost is up 30%. If you want to hold an event that involves, providing food, the cost of groceries is up 26%. Every time you go to your building and turn the lights on, the cost is up 30%. Constantly judging lodges for struggling while at the same time looking at these increases is insane. So short term, we need to give more grace to our members who can't make it, but to the lodges who are struggling and trying to figure out what to do. And maybe in some ways, being willing to expect less from the lodges. Less, I don't mean less everything. I mean, maybe not every meal needs to be a 5-course celebration, with ground beef that costs so much. Maybe more fruits and vegetables, smaller meals might be appropriate, right? Expecting a dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. Long term, I think what we need to do is advocate for things that allow us to survive cost of living increases. I think every Masonic lodge should advocate to have a public transportation or a bus stop close to its building so people who can't afford to drive can still attend the meetings. I think we need to organize carpools and carpool events to get brethren to lodges, so we're splitting the cost of gas. It's also good for people who are sick or can't drive themselves, by the way. That's equally important. Making sure our buildings are as energy efficient as possible, right? Absolutely making sure our buildings are energy efficient, light bulbs are energy efficient, whatever else it might be. That is absolutely vital and absolutely critical. Because, where is it here? The cost of gas utilities is up 42% and electricity 39%. So we need to be pushing against that by making our buildings more energy efficient. And trying our best to maintain or increase our membership rolls, because the more people we have paying dues, the more, in theory, we can deal with these issues. But I think the key word is grace in this situation. Whatever you say, I mean, I gotta disagree with you on that one. What's $20? I mean, so $20 extra a week is $1,120 a year more than you're paying before. That's dues to a Masonic Lodge meeting, right? And if it was just a matter of gas was the one thing increasing and nothing else, that would be one thing. But again, You have gasoline increasing on top of the price increasing for groceries, health insurance, auto insurance, fuel, eggs, home prices, restaurants, shelter costs. Like, it's everything happening all at once. And 1,120 is not a little bit of money, right? Especially on a fixed income. How much is, all right. But if you want to help me deal with these increased costs, please hit like and subscribe. I'm currently at 3,992 subs. I'm getting closer to 4,000, so help a brother out. We just need 8 more subs. 48. Sorry, we have 48 votes on the poll question. Have you noticed a drop in purchasing power? Yes, 56%. No, 44%. So that's cool. It seems that, yeah, people are noticing um, the increased cost of goods and services, and it's going to affect Freemasonry, as much as we like to think otherwise. I mean, there is some truth to that, whatever you say. I mean, my concern with this, my concern with this stream especially is not so much why prices are going up, but just recognizing the fact that prices are going up. Um, the extent to which it's the direct result of Iran versus corporations taking advantage versus, you know, whatever, just the natural inflation that happens year over year. Like, because inflation, I think they usually try to bench it to 2%, give or take, I think is usually a good rule of thumb. Why my concern isn't so much why as just noticing it is happening. Um, because Freemasons can't do much about the why, but we can try to ameliorate the costs of it as much as possible, or mitigate the cost of it might be the better term to use. But I wouldn't shock me if companies are using the Iran war. I mean, it happened during COVID as well. There was a percentage of companies that were using, that as an excuse to increase the price of their goods as well. So that happens, unfortunately. But I think we need to think about these things and we need to consider these things. It's part of being a Freemason. I've said it a million times. You cannot um, you cannot separate the condition of a Masonic lodge, or you cannot. Let me put it this way: you cannot separate the conditions of Freemasonry from the conditions of the communities in which it's located. That could be um, economic, political, social, and anything else, historical, cultural. I mean, I'm no fan of Trump at all. I think he's pretty terrible, but yeah, he's definitely tone deaf as well. I'm going to need to run to the washroom in a second because holy cow, do I have to go. So I'm going to leave you guys for a moment. I promise I'll be back soon. Nobody cause any trouble while I'm gone. I'd much appreciate it. I'll be back in a moment. Looking devolved? Well, Dennis, please hit like and subscribe, even if I am looking to maybe. I made it back. Let's get crazy. Nobody get crazy, Hypnobike. There's no reason for that. I was just actually I was passing by. I was going to the washroom. I noticed my cat, and that got me wondering, what is the actual increase of inflation for pets, like dog food, cat food, vets? Inflation increase 5 years for pets, animals, food, vet visits, USA. Let's see. So, pet related expenses in the USA have surged by approximately 50% over the past 5 years. with some estimates placing the increase as high as 63% since 2016. Hello, Coach. Thank you for being here. Please hit like and subscribe. Once again, why does this matter to Freemasonry? Well, if you're a Mason and you have a pet, and suddenly it's 63% more expensive to take your pet to the vet, or to get pet food or whatever it might be, cat food or dog food, suddenly, at what point do we think, all right, I can't afford to pay my dues. I need to take my, cat to the vet, whatever it might be. That is something you're going to deal with as well. So these things matter a lot more than maybe we sometimes give credit to. We are currently still 8 subs away from 4,000. So help a brother out. Let's see what we can do here. Hello, Coach. How's it going? Let me know how you're doing. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral? I'd love to hear them. I do not, X. I do not. By the way, I am going to be on this stream tonight as well, 1 a.m. Don't forget about that. So, some people I find, for whatever reason, prefer my 1 a.m. streams. I don't know why. My audience like me a bunch of night owls. Most people, that could be what it is. I mean, whatever you say, that's probably a big part of it, right? It wouldn't shock me. I just do find it interesting because according to my YouTube algorithm or my YouTube analytics, most of my audience is on YouTube at 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. and yet the majority of my views come at 1 a.m. So I'm not really sure why that is. I'm curious about that. How's it going? Everybody jump in the chat, say hello, let me know how it's going. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry? As always, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. And help me get to my 4,000 subs. I'd appreciate that as well. And answer a poll question. Have you noticed a drop in purchasing power since February of 2026? I picked that date obviously because of the Iran war starting. But you could push that back 5 years if you wanted. The vet cost, they pushed it back 10 years. So I do not agree with the Iran war, but I will say in more general, my biggest fear is simply for the lives of, I mean, everybody, I suppose, but part of me and my heart does think back and go back to specifically and particularly the Masons in the Middle East. There is the Grand Lodge of Iran in exile. There is also, Masonic lodges in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Israel, and I hope my Masonic brothers. There's also Masonic lodges on military bases. One of my dreams would be to one day visit a Masonic lodge on a military base in the Middle East. So, and there are many Masons serving the armed forces. So I'm thinking about them all and hoping they're all going to be okay. Hello, the one above all. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. And Sprunk, thank you for being here also. And thank you for your like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral. I'd love to hear them. Um, and I'm grateful for everybody joining me. Well, I think they're more likely to get one now than they were before, to be honest. Well, when you say I clearly hate Israel, I'm not sure why you would say clearly. I mean, I don't know you, so uh, I don't hate Israel. I don't hate Iran. I don't hate any country. I think it's dumb to hate a country. I don't like the government of Israel at the moment. I'm actually a member of a lodge in Israel, though, Lodge Holy Land number 50, and proud of it. I think in every, I don't care whether it's America, Canada, Israel, you have to separate the country and the governments from the state itself. The state is just a state. It's just a political entity. Over time things change. Will the political entity of Israel still exist in 100 years? I mean, will the political entity of America still exist in 100 years? I hope so. Having said that, I also hope that we come to a point where we have a Palestinian state as well. And I hope we come to a point where America and Iran are allies. And I hope everybody is allied with one another. There's no more enemies between states, is the best way I can answer that question. But yeah, I'm a member of Lodge Holy Land number 50 out of Israel and proud of it. Um, well, I'm glad, however, that the scroll brought you here. Thank you, YouTube. Much obliged. Please hit like and subscribe. Um, if you haven't done so, but I think you've been here before. I'm currently 7 subs away from 4,000, so we're getting there slowly but surely. And please don't call me Shirley. Well, I mean, I would be launching missiles too if somebody attacked me, so I don't know. I mean, I guess what I'd say is I don't see the current situation making anybody safer or life easier for anybody. Um, Certainly, I don't think it's helping Freemasonry at all. Okay, well, you can think I'm dumb. That's fine. I might think you're dumb. It's not whatever. People can think whatever they want on social media. That is one thing I've learned is unfortunately, social media is a place where there's a lot of different opinions, and everybody kind of has their own. What can you do? Um, but I mean, this idea of now we're getting into the Middle East conflict. I mean, I don't want to get into this conflict here. I mean, these are political questions. Freemasonry is not political. So some Freemasons will probably be staunch Zionists. Some will be staunch supporters of a single state being formed that is Israel and Palestine combined into one. Some will be pro-Israel, some will be anti-Israel. Every Mason will kind of make up their own mind about that. I would be a two-stater for whatever it's worth, in that I'm a believer in, and I hope to see at some point in the future, I would hope to see a Palestinian state and an Israeli state there, but we'll see what happens. I assure you, there are many things about which I'm not neutral, but the Middle East is something where I do tend to take a more neutral stance. But neutrality doesn't always mean, sometimes neutrality can mean kind of nervousness about taking a position. Sometimes being neutral is the most logical position. Rusty Nails, welcome back. I'm actually going to be attending a Rusty Nail degree pretty soon. But thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. And Rusty Nails, I hope you'll hit the like and subscribe button and let me know how you're doing. I think you've already subscribed. Hit like nonetheless. I'm 7 subs away from 4,000, so I'm trying to get there. I've been stuck in this 3,900 range for a long time, so I'd be working on it. Well, I mean, the Middle East is one of those things where um, there's this old expression I really like, right? America sneezes, the world catches a cold. That's also kind of true in the Middle East. The Middle East sneezes, the world catches a cold because so many of our natural resources are located there. There's so much money tied up there. There's so much history there. Certainly it results in a great deal of, shall we say, passionate feelings, which, you know, creates a very interesting world. I gave you a thumbs up. Well, there you go. At least I got the thumbs up. So how's it going, Rusty Nails? I hope you're doing well, and thank you for joining as always. By the way, I have my personal YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cameron Adams, and I want to start doing more stuff on there as well. So expect to see potentially some more work, some more streams there, maybe even tonight at midnight, because I find I'm not doing enough. I find I'm not doing enough, you know, other channel stuff and other content. So I'm working on it. All right. Well, what question do you have about Freemasonry today? I've done my main topics and now I'm back to just answering questions. So ask away. I'll do my best to answer. I don't know everything about Freemasonry, but I've been a Freemason for 20 years and I'd like to think I know a bit. Give me some general questions. I'll do my best to answer. Again, keep in mind, I don't claim to know everything, but I'll do my best. Well, that has nothing to do with Freemasonry, so I do not. I'd be very worried about what could happen to my toilet. I believe every member of NATO should provide money to the United States. I mean, I wish you best of luck with that one, whatever you say, but I don't think that's happening. But all right, I don't know. I would highly question that as being a possibility. Uh, I mean, I don't think NATO should be resolved myself. Again, we're getting into political questions here, which is fine, but keep in mind this is not a political channel. I think mutual defense is genuinely a very good thing. So, right? I think there's something Masonic also in this idea of mutual defense, one for all for one. I think that's pretty valuable. I spent 5 years of my life in the Middle East. I've not spent 5 years of my life in the Middle East. I did visit the Middle East and thought it was beautiful. I was in Dubai, but not for 5 years, that's for sure. Um, X, I think that's a great idea, but I think what we should do first is make I think what we should do first and foremost is make the squirrels be Freemasons to increase our numbers. And then we can make them do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. I think that would be way better. There are no Masonic overlords, Psyok. We are not, does not work. So, very sorry to disappoint. That's awesome, Rusty Nails. I mean, I've heard that I can't speak from personal experience, but I know, or at least I've heard, there's some absolutely gorgeous places in the Middle East, some beautiful architecture, breadbasket, cradle of civilization. Well, that'd be Africa. But I mean, the Middle East is, I've been told, is absolutely beautiful. I'd love to visit more of it. Um, the time I spent in Dubai, though, was wonderful. So I will say that it was very short. Basically, it was the airport for about 12 hours, but from what I saw, it was a gorgeous city, very friendly people as well. Um, so yeah. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of blame to go around, whatever you say. I'm not sure you can blame any one country or state exclusively. I think there's plenty of blame to go around. I've never been to Greece, but believe me, that is a place I want to go to as well. 100%. Because, Freemasonry connects to geometry, to Euclid, to stonemasonry, and Greece is without a doubt one of those places that is so connected to that. Um, so yeah, maybe I'm gay, maybe I'm straight. What difference does it make to being a Freemason? I would not say that, whatever you say, but all right. I think whatever you say, you've made up your mind. You're wrong, but you've made up your mind, so be it. 50 votes. Actually, it's a good round number. Have you noticed a drop in purchasing power or increased price of goods versus wages since February 2026? Yes is slightly in the lead at 54%, no is at 46%. But of that 54%, the obvious question is what percentage of that will now struggle to take part in or be involved with Freemasonry because of those increased costs? Um, you don't have to feel sorry for any country, but I mean, whenever anybody dies, I'm going to be sad about it, especially if it's, innocent people. I think that's just common empathy. We got some weird people in the chat today. That's okay. Makes things interesting, I suppose. Keeps things cool. Keep in mind, once again, Freemasonry is not political. We have Masons who support the Iran war, who are opposed to it, everything in between. Um, we have Masons who support Israel, who don't support Israel as a political state. I mean, Freemasonry is not a political organization. In fact, you're not allowed to discuss politics or religion while in lodge. So keep that in mind also. Um, yes, you are one of the cool ones. This is not a political channel. I mean, I'll talk about politics insofar as it affects Freemasonry. So if there's a political decision, um, if there's a political decision that, let's say, results in increasing cost of fuel and gas, I'll talk about that insofar as now it's more expensive for Masons to get to and from Masonic meetings, obviously, right? Um, or, if there's a local political decision that reduces bus or public transit services, I'll talk about that because now it's one less way for Masons to get to and from their Masonic lodge meetings. Um, so it's one of those things where, uh, the political situation in a country will affect Freemasonry in that country. The political situation in a community will affect Freemasonry in that community. It's just one of those cases, right? And so I'll talk about it in that sense, but I'm not going to give necessarily specific views of the decision. I'm simply going to talk about how it will affect Freemasonry, um, because it's going to, right? It can't be helped. Same thing with other things as well. Like if there's a political decision that results in, economic downturn in a community, People may leave that community. Now there's less members, or there's less of a pool to draw membership from. We're going to give it a bit more time and just wait to see who joins. As always, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts on Freemasonry, let me know. Why did the Freemasons destroy the? We're not interested in destroying anybody, Freemasons or free plumbers or free carpenters. We're all working together to make the world a better place. So there is Masonic lodges. Actually, Freemasonry, to my understanding, is fairly popular in Morocco, SIOC. It's also in Jordan. It's also in Lebanon. It's outlawed or banned in uh, UAE, in Iran, in Saudi Arabia, in Iraq, I believe in Afghanistan also. But in those cases, there actually are Masonic lodges that exist on military bases in those regions, particularly American military bases. So that's kind of like how it was back in the day when very often the first Masonic lodges in an area after port towns were on military encampments, like in India, for example. Um, Unfortunately, there's a lot of food waste just in general, which is really unfortunate. Hopefully, maybe a silver lining to increasing cost of food is fingers crossed people are less willing to waste food just because it's so expensive. You don't know when you're going to have the chance to, you know, $5 steak. Maybe I'm more willing to waste it. $22 steak. I'm eating that whole thing quite happily too. Um, or maybe not happily because it's so expensive, but I'm eating the whole thing. So maybe that's a benefit. Who knows? Well, a small benefit is as food costs more, people are less willing to waste. We're going to keep hanging out, wait to see who jumps on to say hello. Maybe we can get to, who knows, maybe we can get to 4,000 subs. If not on this stream, then probably this 1 a.m. stream, I'll get there. At least we'll keep our fingers crossed. I mean, whatever you say that's part of it, without a doubt, is companies taking advantage of the situation in the Middle East to create an excuse to drive up prices. I don't know what the percentage is, but that wouldn't shock me at all. I don't sell any Freemason jars. In fact, Mason jars have nothing to do with Freemasonry. I guess the guy who invented them was named Mason. So that's kind of interesting. The jars are free. It's in the name. Sorry, the jars are not free. You have to pay for mason jars. I don't want anybody going to a store stealing mason jars and then saying they thought they should be free. No, don't blame me if you try to take mason jars. You have to pay for those. Just keep that in mind. Yes, do not do that. But welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. I hope you enjoyed my discussion for the day, or at least found it illuminating. And I hope it reminded you that Freemasons need to pay attention to what's happening in the world. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Any thoughts on Freemasonry, let me know. They don't belong to Masons, just for the record. They don't belong to the Masons. They should. They're named that, but they don't nonetheless. I mean, I've never heard of the term sticky pricing. I've heard of the term sticky demand or inelastic demand, which is certain products. We got hearts that might be smoky to clown, which means, you know, like cigarettes was always a good example of that, which is you would increase the price more and more and more, but the demand would never go down because they're addictive, obviously. And so, it would not shock me at all if certain products end up, corporations realize and companies realize they can just keep increasing the cost of them without reducing demand. Like health insurance is a great example of that, right? Like without a doubt, health insurance is absolutely a great example of that because you need health insurance. So of course, you're going to be willing to pay more for it. The problem is when you start to increase the cost of products and services that have a really sticky or inelastic demand, one of the consequences is services that, don't have that same sticky demand suffer. So you increase the cost of health insurance. People need health insurance, so they pay for it no matter what. Suddenly, they're looking at other areas of their life to cut back on, like Freemasonry. Because Freemasonry, unfortunately, has been demonstrated to be not very sticky in terms of demand. So you need to keep that in mind. Well, I mean, it could be increasing cost from government. It could be increasing cost from taxes. The point is, there are some products and services where the cost goes up, but the demand doesn't go down. Sometimes it's something because it's addictive, like a cigarette. Sometimes it's because it's just necessary to live, like health insurance. Some people, based on where they live and the lack of public transit, they simply need a car no matter what. So car companies know they can increase the cost of the car or the car insurance greatly without affecting demand. But in those cases, when that happens, then what you see is people are less interested in spending money, for example, on, amongst other things, on Freemasonry or, going out to a restaurant or whatever it might be. And so as costs go up in terms of, products would have inelastic demand, other products and other services feel the pinch even more. Um, well, creative accounting is interesting, you know. Try not to be creative accounting if you can help it, would be my advice. Just do your best. Whatever happens, happens. Well, Masons shouldn't be hazing anybody, so if they did, you should contact the police. I mean, depending on what the hazing was, obviously, but that's not okay. So we're going to give it a bit more time, wait to see who joins. As always, please take a moment, hit like, hit subscribe. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, positive, negative, or neutral, I'd love to hear them. and help me get to my 4,000 subs. I'm 3,993, so I'm 7 away from 4,000. So let's see if we can get there. I'd be much obliged. They should not do that. So I would say don't. If you are a Mason, don't take back all of your bricks. But I'd hope we wouldn't do that, in fairness. I wasn't even trying to join. Well, then, so not even trying to join what, Sayak? Noah, happy birthday. Obviously, I always give the caveat, if you're under 18, make sure you have your parents' permission to be on this stream. Having said that, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll like and subscribe. 25%. It's unfortunate. We're doing our best, but we're still much lower than I'd like us to be. But we're doing our best, I promise. Do you know? Thank you to Evil. We're working on it. I do not know Young Thug, eyeball or die. Hit that like and subscribe button. I kind of view Masons taking over the world the same way I view the same way I view me taking part in this degree, this channel, I should say. Every day, you do a little bit more, you try a little bit harder, and maybe one day you make it, right? You just keep trying, you just keep pushing. It's really hard, obviously. I don't want to make it sound like, oh, it's so easy. It's work. And if something you care about, it's going to take time. It's going to be hard work. But you do your best, and kind of whatever happens, happens. That's all you can do, right? Spaceship tour? No, we don't have any spaceships. I'm very sorry to disappoint. Well, just don't have any more transgressions and we'll be fine. 3-9. I think a lot of Masons are struggling right now because Freemasonry is, unfortunately, really struggling in a lot of different ways. And I think a consequence of that is, unfortunately, people are feeling like they're putting in so much time and effort to make this thing a success and it's not working. And that is really unfortunate. But all we can do, is to try our best. I don't know if it's so silent, to be perfectly honest. I feel like it might actually not be that silent. The reason for the poll is, I've said it a million times, you cannot separate the success of a Masonic building. Sorry, you cannot separate the success of Freemasonry, or put aside success. Let me put it a different way. You cannot separate the condition of Freemasonry from the conditions of the communities in which it's located. That could be, economic, political, social, all of the above. As costs rise, as people experience greater amounts of inflation outpacing their, outpacing, excuse me, their, outpacing, excuse me, their, excuse me, wages, right? It's, if I recall correctly, it was inflation is 3.8%, wage goes to 3.6%. At a certain point, people stop being able to attend Masonic events because it costs too much to travel to the event in terms of fuel costs, or lodges themselves experience increased costs associated with providing refreshments, with heating their buildings, maintaining their buildings. People choose to work more hours, and as a consequence of working more hours, have less hours to spend at Masonic meetings. It all matters. It all affects this. So I want to see if Masons or anybody are experiencing increased cost of living, and as a consequence of that, are starting to feel like they are no longer able to perhaps afford Freemasonry. Um, Sorry, when you say not self-sustained structure, do you mean um, do you mean Freemasonry is not self-sustaining, or the economy? Some would agree with you on that, whatever you say. The idea of guarding the West Gate, that's not a new idea by any means. I'm not sure if I would agree with that necessarily, but you're not incorrect in that view, that's for sure. We're gonna just keep hanging out, wait to see who jumps on and says hello once again. Help me get to my 4,000 sub mark. We are 6 away from 4,000. We're at 3,993 at the moment. So I don't want any of those things because a heated sacrificial altar would be dumb because we don't make sacrifices. Silk robes would be a pain in the butt to clean, so I don't want that. And pentagrams, I mean, Eastern Star has a pentagram, but it's meant to represent the five heavenly virtues, and five women of the Bible. I used to know them. I always forget. Martha, Ruth, Esther. I forget the other ones. All Old Testament, I think. You're not wrong about that. People have pointed that out in the past that it, if Netflix costs more than Masonic Lodge meetings, then people are going to stay home and watch Netflix because that's what they're spending the most money on. Well, pigeon kicker, first of all, don't kick pigeons. That's not nice. Second, hit like and subscribe. And good to have you here. I mean, well, in some ways, that's what happens, Alvarez. I mean, Freemasonry is a self funded organization, right? We pay for dues. The problem is, I mean, what would it mean to pay for everybody's travel, right? Like, I go to 5 Masonic meetings a week. Are people paying for all 5 of my trips? It would be challenging to do it that way. I consider yourself, I mean, they're not expected to. I wouldn't use that term, but certainly, I mean, I would encourage them to. I think that's a wonderful thing to see, is if you're a Freemason, you have certain skills, by all means, I hope that you will use those skills to help the lodge. And many Masons do. I've known many Masons who are, electricians, plumbers, who will step in and assist a lodge when it's struggling. Sometimes they are, lawyers or whatever it is, and they have administrative skills, and they do the same thing, where they'll step in and help organize meetings or organize minutes or organize events. Like whatever skill you have, I think you absolutely should, without a question, try to try to help your lodge. And that's one thing I always say: when you're joining a Masonic lodge, the first thing you should think about more so than anything else is what can you do? How can you help the lodge? It should be about as much what you can contribute to the lodge as what you hope to get from it. Duff man, I like stone construction because I'm a Freemason. Please hit like and subscribe. I'm getting so close to 4,000. I'm 6 subs away. So let's see if you can help me out. Now, obviously, the frustrating thing is once I get to 4, usually I lose a couple subs and whatever. That happens. What can you do? I mean, unfortunately, Freemasonry already has a little bit of a Freemasonry not political, but there is an element of all for one and one for all within Freemasonry, which is not a bad thing by any means. But there is that quality to it. Birdie, where am I from? Bidire? I am from Windsor, Windsor, Ontario. Please take a moment, hit like, and hit subscribe, by the way. I would truly, truly appreciate it. Because I'm so close to 4,000. It is a brotherhood, that is true. I don't know who Jacob Kane is. I know who Kane is um, from professional wrestling, who is awesome as a professional wrestler. Not sure about some of his views, but I'll take it. 'Cause most people say I look ugly, so if you think I look like Kane, I'll not complain about that at all. Turkey, it's great to have somebody from Turkey in the chat. Thank you for being here. There is Freemasonry in Turkey. In fact, Turkey has a really incredible history as it relates to Freemasonry. So, yeah, that's awesome. Have you hit the subscribe button? That's a better question. Both for Bidare from Turkey and this is my profession. At least I'm trying to make it my profession, content creation. So please take a moment if you're not done so yet to let me know A, if you have any thoughts on Freemasonry, any questions, and B, hit like and subscribe. Canada, born and raised in Canada, born in Winnipeg, live in Windsor. Well, your dad was wrong. Now, I'm sure he was a good man. I'm sure he meant well, but he was incorrect. Masons are some of the most trustworthy people I've ever met. No, we're not interested in taking revenge on anybody. That's a waste of time. Hopefully, what we can do is simply live good lives, work hard, try our best, and demonstrate to the UAE that Masons are good people. And then we go from there, right? It's kind of like individuals who don't like Freemasonry. My advice is always all we can do is live good lives ourselves. And in doing so, encourage others to live good lives as well. That's kind of our best approach, I think. Well, every Mason will have his own views on the square and compasses, right? For me, I mean, in general, you can say what they mean is the reminder to act as a good person towards everybody, including our fellow brethren, I think is the simplest way to view it. But I mean, some people it means family, some people it means friendship, some people it means memories of Masonic events and celebrations. It really just depends. Okay, you're from India. That's cool. A lot of Freemasonry in India as well. So I'm not religious myself. To be a Freemason, you must believe in a supreme being. However, that supreme being can be, of a variety of religions or even non-religious. You can be Muslim, Hindu, Christian, Sikh, Jewish, whatever it might be. For me personally, again, I'm not a religious person. My supreme being is the rational nature of the universe as expressed through science and as expressed through geometry. Content about Freemasonry. So basically, what I'm doing right now, a lot of live streams. I also have Instagram accounts, things like that. So So Masons take obligations. However, it doesn't necessarily have to be on a Bible. It can be on a Quran. It can be on a Torah. It depends on the religious faith of the brother. It can be on an eagle feather as well. And ultimately, though, you're taking an obligation to yourself, not to anybody else. Um, and whether you choose to break that obligation or maintain it is something you have to look at in the mirror, not something for the lodge. I mean, I love kebabs. I think they are absolutely delicious. I would concur with that. We are 5 subscribers away from throughout. Maybe we'll get there with this 1 a.m. stream. Who knows? We'll see. I've been to a few Masonic meetings where they served kebabs, and I was very, very happy about it. Believe me. I do know global tech key. As a Freemason, I should obviously know about it because it's such a beautiful example of stonemasonry, one of the earliest examples of stonemasonry in the world, if not the earliest example of stonemasonry in the world. So I do know global techie. I never know how to pronounce it, but I do know it. Yeah. I do want to do a podcast at some point about it, to be honest. Because I think it'd be really cool. But for the time being, we're just going to wait to see who joins, just hanging out. Any thoughts you have on Freemasonry, let me know. Hitting that like and subscribe button would be most appreciated. And thank you so much for being here. We'll give it another, let's say, 10, 15 minutes, but I will be back on streaming tonight at 1 a.m. Also going to be posting a bunch of stuff, so pay attention to that as well. Always follow my social media. Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. Would be much, much obliged. Sure, I'm a third degree Master Mason. I'm also an 18th degree Scottish Rite Mason. I'm also Worshipful Master of my lodge. 1 a.m. Eastern Time, yes. I do these streams 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Um, so, because my audience is like me, they don't like to sleep, apparently. The 1 p.m. streams, I have more specific content, like specific topics, I should say. I'll actually have things I talk about, like today was the economy, I should say. 1 a.m. I just hang out, chat about whatever. What does what mean? That people like to, my audience is like me, a bunch of night owls. People like to stay up late. So, but 1 a.m. we just chat, hang out, talk about whatever. No specific talking points. Just answer questions about Freemasonry as people come into the stream. What is the age range in my lodge? So I'm a member of 5 Masonic lodges. My mother lodge, it's trending a little bit younger, but I would still say the average age gets closer to 50 or 60, maybe mid 50s, mid 60s. Oh, we're going for the horror movie questions because people know I like scary movies. I like the prom night movie starring Jamie Lee Curtis. I prefer the sequels because I do like direct-to-video horror and or at that time direct-to-TV horror. I think it's kind of underappreciated, like the Mary Sue stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed them. I actually have a DVD collection with Prom Night 3 and 4 in it, which are very, people might call them bad movies. I would say they're awesome movies. I love them. Um, so Jay, rainbow is not referencing LGBTQ. Rainbow refers to a Masonic youth group for young women, young girls ages 9 to 21, if I'm getting the ages correct. It's a Masonic youth group. So you could not because you're an adult. Um, I mean, when I can, I attend the funeral of Masons. Hopefully, they are old when they pass away. I'd rather that than attend the funeral for a young Mason. But yeah, I think attending a Masonic funeral, if you can, is a wonderful thing to do. It's not always possible, and if not, then so be it. But I try my best. It's a good way to say goodbye to our brethren, and it's a good way to say thank you to the family of the brethren, because I think one thing a funeral does, it brings into very sharp contrast or very sharp relief how limited our time is on earth. And for every hour that a brother is spending with us, it's 1 hour he's not able to spend with his family. It's 1 hour he's not spending with his friends. It's 1 hour he's not spending at work, earning a living. And so, in my opinion, it makes sense that we take a few moments to say thank you in those circumstances for him taking the time to be with us, or for to the family for letting him spend some of his limited time with us, which I think is completely fair. Well, I mean, if they want a Masonic funeral, then it's absolutely mentioned, obviously, right? Because it's a Masonic funeral. So we have Masons there talking about his Masonic career. If they don't want a Masonic funeral, I say they, the family, then it won't be. I mean, in some cases, it may be mentioned in his obituary. It may not. It depends what the family wants in it. My advice to Masons is always make sure your family knows, like, okay, what does the family want? So what did the deceased want? Like, if you're a Mason and you're thinking about end of life, tell your family, like, I would like my Masonry mentioned in my obituary. I would like a Masonic funeral. Don't leave it up to your family to just guess, right? You should take the time to write these things down. Put it in your, put it in your um, will, your final wishes. Write it down. I think it's important. First of all, Alvaruz. So Masons don't usually have robes. It's not really a Masonic thing, but some Masons will be buried with their apron on. That can happen. It depends again on what the wishes are of the brother. So I think when I pass away, if I pass away, maybe I'll live forever. My hope is to be buried with my apron. But actually, sorry, no, it's the opposite. My hope is my apron is returned to my Masonic lodge, and they receive it. First of all, I love the Leprechaun movies. I love all of them, including the one in space. In fact, the Leprechaun in Space movie is my favorite movie. So, my favorite Leprechaun movie. It's either that one or number three. They're both tied for first place. But I love all the Leprechaun movies. Most of them are available right now on Tubi, by the way. Word to the wise. Um, Welcome. Thank you all for joining once again. Please, if you're watching this, you've not done so yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're getting close to 4,000. We're five away, so let's see if we can make it. If not this stream, maybe I'll make it at 1 a.m. on my 1 a.m. stream. Who knows? Whatever you say. Okay, Jason X, that's a great pick. I like Jason X a lot. I think it's a really fun movie. For me, I would go with Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. I would say that's my favorite, followed in a close second by Friday the 13th, Part 3, which I like a lot. After that, I would, who knows, maybe then Jason X might be there. I mean, gosh, that's a tough question. Um, I don't know. I mean, they're all so good. I'm one of those people. I love all the franchise films. Like I love, like genuinely, I adore every Nightmare on Elm Street, every Halloween, every Friday the 13th, every Leprechaun. Heck, even the Hellraiser films, I think, don't get the credit they deserve. If I was forced to pick one, like, I like them all. My favorite movie of all time, by the way, my favorite film, period, is Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4 and Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5. Those are my favorite nightmare movies, my favorite horror movies, and my favorite movies, period. So we're going to be ending this stream shortly. I will be back on tonight at 1 a.m. So we're going to give this, let's say, another 5 minutes. I mean, it's left very ambiguous, whatever you say, obviously, right? The final shot where Freddy winks into the camera. I don't know if it's clear who necessarily won that fight. I would vote for Freddy because love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I also love the Fridays. I mean, there's some great films as well. It all just depends. I used to do these movie watch-alongs on my other channel on the weekend. I do like midnight movie watch-alongs. I might see about doing that again. Who knows? Because they were fun and they were enjoyable. It was on my personal account, youtube.com/Cameron Adamson. So maybe I'll do that again. Who knows? Never play. I don't know what the Texas Chainsaw game is. New Nightmare was incredible. I loved that movie. I thought it was awesome. Unfortunately, Lord Christ, Freemasons are associated with devil worship because of conspiracy theories and social media nonsense, which is really unfortunate because Freemasonry, first of all, Freemasonry is not a religion at all, which means it's not set up to worship anything, demons or otherwise. Individual Masons will have their own personal beliefs about religion. They could be Christian or Muslim or Jewish, but Freemasonry is not demon worshiping. Also, there was a few hoaxes in the past, including the Leo Taxel hoax, that kind of found new life on social media, which is unfortunate. It was, and I love that movie. Now, it's almost certainly not true. I think they've even perhaps found some proof as to who he actually was. But no, that movie was about, was about Jethro being a Freemason. I like that movie a lot, to be honest. When I was a kid, I didn't really watch Goosebumps. For me, Are You Afraid of the Dark? That was my jam. I loved that show. Much more so than Goosebumps. But I enjoyed Goosebumps, I suppose. I never really watched a ton of episodes. Like I said, for me, it was always started and ended at it always started and ended with Are You Afraid of the Dark? I always thought that was the best. I still do, by the way. I think Are You Afraid of the Dark is an incredible show. Yes, I agree with that. Whatever you say, R.I.P. Wes Craven. No doubt, an absolute icon, one of the greats. Okay, we're going to end this shortly. Just going to give people one more chance to jump on and say hello. I'll be back on, like I said, tonight at 1 a.m. I actually did a watch along with Jack through it with From Hell. I liked it a lot. He said I really enjoy that movie. It's also available right now on Tubi, if I recall correctly. Just to give people a reminder once again. The major amusement park in Canada? I don't know. I think isn't there a Six Flags or Canada's Wonderland out of Toronto, I think. I love amusement parks though. Every summer they have a amusement park set up in at the river, which is incredible. I love it. So I love amusement parks. Reminds me of scary movies. I heard that was the case. JJ. I don't know for sure, but I've heard that was the case. Thank you, Lapis. You as well. Thank you to everybody who's been helping us out. I appreciate that as well. Um, Hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, it helps out big time. And so thank you all so much for being here. I will see you all soon. Hopefully, we get to 4,000 at 1 a.m. Let's keep our fingers crossed. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.